The lights of station flickered softly in the darkness of space. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It floated between the stars like a metal flower, with hundreds of ships coming and going each day. Inside, thousands of alien beings lived and worked together in peace. Commander Jake walked through the main corridor, nodding at the various aliens he passed. Some were tall and thin like walking stick insects. Others moved on multiple legs or floated in water-filled suits. After 6 months on the station, Jake had gotten used to the strange sights. He was the leader of Earth's small diplomatic team, and his job was to help humans fit into this galactic community. The Galactic Council had only accepted humanity 5 years ago. Most aliens still didn't know much about humans or Earth. They asked strange questions sometimes. They wondered why humans could eat so many different foods. They were surprised that humans could survive in both hot and cold weather. One alien had fainted when Jake mentioned that humans could heal from broken bones. Jake's team was small. There were only 12 humans on the entire station. His second-in-command was Lieutenant Maya Collins, a smart woman who had learned to speak 3 alien languages. She was working in the communications room when Jake found her that morning. "Anything interesting today?" Jake asked. Maya looked up from her screen. Her face was serious. "Maybe. I picked up something strange an hour ago, a distress call from Prime." "Prime?" Jake frowned. "That's a colony world, right?" "Yes." Maya pulled up the message on the main screen. "They are those insect-like aliens, very peaceful. They don't even have a military." The distress call played. Even though Jake couldn't understand the language, he could hear the fear in the voice. The translator system converted the words into English. "This is Prime Colony. We are under attack. The swarm has arrived, requesting immediate assistance. Our shields are failing. We have civilians trapped in the southern continent. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. The swarm is..." The message cut off suddenly. Maya's hands moved quickly over the controls. "I've been trying to get more information. The swarm is bad news, Commander. They're a hive mind species that consumes entire planets. They've destroyed 6 colonies in the past 2 years." "Has the Council responded?" Jake asked. "That's the problem." Maya pulled up another screen. "I sent the distress call to the Council's emergency channel. Do you know what they said? They said it would take 2 weeks to gather a response fleet. 2 weeks. By then, everyone on Prime will be dead." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. 2 weeks. We could get there in 3 days with our fastest ships. "The Council species don't have ships like ours," Maya reminded him. "Their technology is more advanced in some ways, but their ships are slow, and they're fragile. Most Council species come from gentle worlds. They can't handle the kind of acceleration our ships use. It would kill them." Jake stared at the screen showing Prime. Somewhere on that planet, millions were dying. Men, women, children. They were dying because no one would help them fast enough. "Commander," Maya's voice was quiet, "I know what you're thinking, but we can't just call Earth Fleet without permission. We're diplomats, not military. If we bring human warships here without Council approval, it could cause a political disaster." Jake was silent for a long moment. He thought about the rules and procedures. He thought about his career and Earth's reputation. Then he thought about those children who were probably hiding in dark shelters right now, listening to the sounds of destruction above them. "Send an emergency beacon to Earth Fleet Command," Jake said. "Priority 1. Include all the data we have on the swarm and Prime's location." Maya's eyes went wide. "Commander, if you do this..." "I know what I'm doing, Lieutenant. Send the message." Maya hesitated for only a second, then her fingers flew across the controls. "Message sent. Earth Fleet should receive it in about 20 minutes. "Good." Jake straightened his uniform. "Now we wait." "The Council isn't going to be happy about this," Maya said. "Probably not," Jake agreed. "But you know what? I'd rather face an angry council than look at myself in the mirror knowing I let millions of innocent people die because I was afraid of breaking some rules. Within an hour, the station's council liaison requested a meeting with Jake. Ambassador Aura was one of the aquatic species that served as the galaxy's peacemakers. His water-filled suit bubbled as he spoke through the translator. Commander, we have detected an unauthorized transmission from your communications room, a message sent to Earth using military encryption. Can you explain this? Jake stood straight. Yes, Ambassador. I sent an emergency request for assistance to Earth Fleet. The colony on Prime is being destroyed and the Council response is too slow. Ara's suit bubbled more rapidly, a sign of agitation. You had no authority to do this. Human military vessels entering Council space without permission could be seen as an act of aggression. The political consequences. With respect, Ambassador, I'm more worried about the consequences of doing nothing. How will the galaxy see the Council if we let an entire species die because we were too slow to help them? The Council has procedures for these situations, Ara insisted. Procedures that exist for good reasons. And those procedures are killing the right now, Jake said. Every hour we talk about procedures, more of them die. The argument continued for another hour. Other council members joined in, some supporting Jake, others condemning him. Through it all, Jake remained calm. He had made his choice, and he would live with whatever consequences came. Finally, Maya appeared in the doorway. Commander, I have a message from Earth Fleet Command. Everyone fell silent. Jake nodded. Let's hear it. Maya read from her tablet. Message received and understood. Admiral Ben Carter is mobilizing a strike force. Estimated arrival at Prime in 68 hours. Earth Fleet sends its regards to Commander and thanks him for bringing this matter to their attention. Jake felt relief wash over him. Earth was coming. They were coming. And in 3 days the swarm would learn what it meant to face humanity in battle. Ambassador Ara's suit bubbled frantically. This is unacceptable. Human warships are going to save lives that the Council couldn't save, Jake interrupted. And when they do, Ambassador, you can either thank them or complain about them. But either way, they're coming. As Jake left the meeting room, Maya walked beside him. Do you think we did the right thing? Jake looked out at the stars through the station's massive windows. Ask me again in 3 days. But right now, yeah, I think we did exactly the right thing. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, human ships were already burning toward Prime. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant when they said that no one who called for help would be left to die alone. Admiral Ben Carter stood in the command center of Luna Base, staring at the holographic display floating in front of him. The distress call from Commander had arrived 20 minutes ago, and Ben had already made his decision. The question now was convincing everyone else. It's not our fight, General said. She was the head of military operations, and she looked worried. We've only been part of the Council for 5 years. Getting involved in an alien war could damage our reputation. Our reputation, Ben turned to face her. What kind of reputation do we want? The kind where we ignore people dying because it's not convenient. That's not what I meant, said. But we have to think about Earth's security. If we send our fleet across the galaxy, what if someone attacks us while we're gone? We have enough ships to defend Earth and help Ben said firmly. And if we don't help, what message does that send? That humans only care about themselves. The debate went on for another 30 minutes. Finally, the Council of Admirals voted. 7 votes for intervention, 3 against. Ben had his authorization. All right, Ben said, his voice carrying authority. I want the Valkyrie and 12 support ships ready to launch in 4 hours. Someone get me Captain Laura Hayes. Captain Laura Hayes was in the gym when her communicator buzzed. She was running on a treadmill, pushing herself through the last mile of her daily 10-mile run. She grabbed a towel and answered the call. Hayes here. Captain, this is Admiral Carter. I need you in the briefing room in 30 minutes. Bring your department heads. Laura didn't hesitate. Yes, sir, we'll be there. 45 minutes later, Laura and her senior officers sat in the briefing room. Admiral Carter stood at the front, bringing up images of Prime on the main screen. 12 hours ago, the colony on Prime sent out a distress call. They're being attacked by the swarm. The Galactic Council's response fleet won't arrive for 2 weeks. By then, everyone on that planet will be dead. How many are on Prime? Asked Commander Nick Palmer, the Valkyrie's first officer. 4 million, Carter said quietly. Most of them civilians. Scientists, teachers, families that don't believe in violence. They literally don't have weapons. The room fell silent. Laura felt her jaw tighten. 4 million innocent people, and no one was helping them. Captain Hayes, I'm giving you command of the relief force. 12 ships total. Your mission is simple. Get to Prime, eliminate the swarm threat, and save as many as you can. What about the Council? Asked Lieutenant Commander Sarah Brooks, the ship's tactical officer. Are they okay with human ships entering their space? They're arguing about it, Carter admitted. But I'm not waiting for them to finish their debate. Sometimes you have to do the right thing and deal with the consequences later. Laura stood up. When do we leave? 4 hours. I'm also sending Colonel Foster and his Marine battalion. If the swarm is already on the ground, we'll need boots on the planet. Colonel Foster was sleeping when the alert came through. He was awake in seconds, years of military training taking over. He dressed quickly and headed to the Marine barracks. His second-in-command, Major Kelly Price, was already organizing the troops. Colonel, we have deployment orders. Prime, maximum speed. What's the situation? Asked. Swarm attack. They've been on the ground for at least 6 hours. Intelligence says the swarm uses bioweapons and wave tactics. They'll keep coming until everything is dead or they run out of soldiers. Had fought in Earth's last major war. He'd seen what happened when an enemy didn't care about casualties. It was brutal and it was terrifying. But at least humans fought other humans. The swarm was something else entirely. Get the Marines ready. Full combat gear, extra ammunition, and medical supplies. If we're going into this, we're going in prepared. 3 hours later, the fleet was ready. 12 human warships sat in formation around Luna Base, their engines warming up. The Valkyrie was the largest, a massive battleship that carried enough firepower to level a small moon. Around it, cruisers and destroyers waited for the command to launch. On the Valkyrie's bridge, Laura watched her crew work. Every station was manned by the best people she could find. Nick Palmer coordinated with the other ships. Sarah Brooks ran final checks on the weapon systems. Lieutenant Danny Cooper managed navigation, plotting the fastest route to Prime. All ships report ready, Captain, Nick said. Laura took a deep breath. This was it. Once they left, there was no turning back. Open a channel to all ships. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Hayes to all vessels. In a few minutes, we're going to travel across the galaxy to help people we've never met. People who can't defend themselves. Some of you might be wondering why we're doing this. The answer is simple, because it's right. Because when someone calls for help, we answer. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us better. All ships prepare for acceleration burn. In the Marine section of the ship, Foster addressed his troops. 200 Marines stood at attention, their armor gleaming under the lights. Listen up, said. We're heading into a hot zone. The swarm doesn't take prisoners and they don't surrender. They'll keep coming until they're all dead or we are. But we've got something they don't have. We've got training, we've got courage, and we've got each other. When we hit that planet, I want every one of you to remember why we became Marines. To protect the innocent. To fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Can I count on you? Yes, sir, 200 voices shouted as one. Good, get some rest. When we arrive, it's going to be hell. The fleet launched exactly on schedule. One by one, the ships accelerated away from Luna Base. Their engines burned bright blue, pushing the vessels to speeds that would have killed any Council species. Humans could handle the acceleration because Earth's gravity was stronger than most planets. What felt normal to humans would crush Aurora. As they traveled, the galactic communication networks lit up with activity. Dozens of alien species watched the human fleet cross their territories. Some were curious, some were afraid. All of them were surprised by how fast the humans moved. On station, Jake watched the fleet's progress on a monitor. Maya Collins stood beside him. "They're really doing it," Maya said softly. "Earth is sending its military to save an alien species." "Of course they are," Jake said. "That's who we are." Ambassador Ara appeared behind them. His water suit bubbled nervously. "Commander, I must protest this action. Human warships moving through Council space without proper authorization are going to save 4 million lives," Jake interrupted. "Ambassador, I respect you and I respect the Council, but right now they don't need bureaucracy. They need warriors, and humanity is answering their call." 68 hours. That's how long it would take the fleet to reach Prime. For the humans racing across space, it felt like an eternity. They didn't know if they would arrive in time. They didn't know what they would find when they got there. But they knew one thing for certain. The swarm had made a mistake. They had attacked a peaceful species and thought no one would stop them. They hadn't counted on humanity. On the bridge of the Valkyrie, Laura Hayes stared at the stars rushing past. In less than 3 days they would arrive. And when they did, the swarm would learn a hard lesson. Never underestimate the species from Earth. And never, ever, threaten the innocent while humans could still fight. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. What they saw made even the experienced crew members go quiet. Prime was burning. From space, they could see the orange glow of fires across the southern continent. Swarm bioships swarmed around the planet like insects around a wound. There were hundreds of them, organic vessels that looked more like giant creatures than spacecraft. "Swarm vessels detected," Lieutenant Danny Cooper reported from the navigation station. "Count is 347. They're clustered around the main population centers." Captain Laura Hayes stood up from her command chair. "All ships, battle stations. Sarah, I want targeting solutions on those bioships. Priority goes to anything near civilian areas." "Yes, Captain," Sarah Brooks replied, her fingers dancing across the tactical console. "Weapons hot and ready." On the communications channel, Admiral Ben Carter's voice came through from Luna Base. "Valkyrie, you are cleared to engage. Save as many as you can." "Understood, Admiral. All ships, this is Hayes. We're going in hot. Watch your vectors and stay in formation. Let's show these things what happens when they mess with our neighbors." The human fleet accelerated toward the planet. The swarm ships noticed them immediately. Bioships began breaking away from the planet, moving to intercept. "They're coming to meet us," Nick Palmer said. "Looks like they want to fight." "Then let's give them one," Laura said. "Sarah, fire when ready." The Valkyrie's main cannons opened fire. Bright streaks of light shot across space, each one carrying enough kinetic energy to punch through a mountain. The first swarm bioship exploded in a shower of organic matter. Then the second. Then the third. The other human ships joined in. Missiles streaked through space. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers. The swarm fought back, launching bioprojectiles that tried to eat through the human ship's armor. But human ships were built tough. They were designed to survive in Earth's harsh environment and in the violence of human warfare. The swarm's weapons barely scratched them. "They're not built for this kind of fight," Sarah observed. "Their weapons are designed for soft targets, not military vessels." "Good," Laura said. "Press the advantage. All ships break formation and engage at will. Clear a path to the surface." The battle in space was fierce but short. The swarm ships were fast and numerous, but they couldn't match human firepower. Within 30 minutes, the orbital space was clear. Surface scan shows swarm forces on the ground, Danny reported. Multiple concentrations near cities, also detecting underground shelters with life signs. That's where the survivors are, Laura said. Get me Colonel Foster. In the Marine deployment bay, Colonel Foster was already suited up and ready. His armor was heavy and covered with weapons. 200 Marines stood behind him, each one a trained warrior. Colonel, this is the captain. We've cleared orbital space. You're good to go. Copy that, Captain. Marines, load up. The drop pods were simple devices. Each one was essentially a metal tube with a heat shield and a small rocket engine. They would fall from orbit, punch through the atmosphere, and land right in the middle of the battle zone. It was dangerous, violent, and exactly the kind of thing humans were good at. Climbed into his pod. Around him, other Marines did the same. The pod sealed shut, leaving each Marine alone in the darkness. All Marines ready for drop, Major Kelly Price reported. Launch in 3, 2, 1, drop. 200 drop pods fell from the Valkyrie like deadly rain. They screamed through the atmosphere, heating up until they glowed red-hot. Inside, the Marines felt the crushing force of acceleration. It would have killed most alien species instantly. Humans just gritted their teeth and endured. Spod hit the ground with tremendous force. The front panel blew off, and he was moving before the dust settled. Around him, other pods were landing, disgorging Marines who immediately formed up and began engaging the enemy. The swarm warriors were nightmare creatures. They stood 8 feet tall on 4 legs, with claws like swords and mouths full of teeth. They moved fast and attacked without fear. But the Marines were ready. Gunfire erupted across the landing zone. Swarm warriors fell by the dozens. When they got too close, the Marines used their combat knives and even their armored fists. Sergeant Amy, take your squad and secure that shelter entrance, ordered, pointing to a half-collapsed building. Yes, sir. Amy was a tough woman from Texas who had been fighting since she was old enough to hold a rifle. She led her squad forward, cutting through swarm warriors with precise fire. Inside the shelter, Dr. huddled with 30 other. The scientist had organized the survivors, keeping them calm while the world ended above. They could hear the sounds of battle getting closer. Is that more swarm? One of the children asked, its large eyes wide with fear. I don't know, admitted, but stay quiet and... The shelter door exploded inward. Everyone screamed. Then they saw the figures coming through the smoke. Humans, armored warriors carrying weapons that looked too big to be real. The lead human removed her helmet, revealing a face and kind eyes. Don't be afraid, Amy said, using the translator device on her armor. We're here to help. My name is Sergeant. We're going to get you out of here. Couldn't believe it. You're from Earth, though. That's right, Amy smiled. And right now this is saving your lives. Can you walk? We need to move fast. The rescue wasn't easy. The swarm attacked constantly, trying to stop the Marines from saving them. But the humans fought with a ferocity that shocked everyone watching. When one Marine got injured, another took their place. They never retreated. They never stopped. Corporal Lisa Grant set up on a rooftop with her sniper rifle. She was from Alaska and had learned to shoot in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. Now, she used those skills to protect the evacuation. Each shot traveled over a mile and hit exactly where she aimed. Swarm warriors fell before they could reach the civilians. Staff Sergeant Brooks, a combat engineer from New York, rigged explosive traps using whatever he could find. When swarm reinforcements tried to swarm a human position, traps turned them into scattered body parts. The battle raged for hours. The who witnessed it couldn't believe what they were seeing. Humans endured injuries that would kill most species. They fought with coordination that came from growing up on a world where everything was trying to kill you. They protected with their own bodies when necessary. "Why are you doing this?" Doctor asked Amy as they ran through a destroyed street. "We're nothing to you, just strangers." "Because you needed help," Amy said simply. "That's enough." In orbit, Captain Laura Hayes monitored the ground battle while dealing with a new problem. The swarm hive ship had arrived. It was massive, 10 times bigger than any other swarm vessel, and it was positioning itself over the planet. "That's their command ship," Sarah said. "If we take it out, the rest of the swarm will lose coordination." "Then that's what we do," Laura said. "But we need to get close, really close. Nick, plot a jump right next to that thing." "Captain, that's extremely dangerous. If we miscalculate—" "We won't," Laura said firmly. "Trust me, we're going to punch that thing right in its ugly face." The Valkyrie's jump drive charged. The ship disappeared from its position and reappeared right next to the hive ship, so close they could have touched it. "Fire everything," Laura ordered. Nuclear missiles, kinetic rounds, energy weapons, everything the Valkyrie had poured into the hive ship at point-blank range. The massive swarm vessel tried to respond, but it was too slow. Explosions rippled across its surface. Its organic armor cracked and split. The hive ship died, and with it, the swarm's coordination collapsed. On the ground, Foster watched as the swarm warriors suddenly became confused and disorganized. "They're falling apart," Kelly reported. "The hive mind link is broken." "Then finish them," ordered. "All units advance and eliminate all swarm forces. Leave none alive." The final push was brutal but effective. Without their hive mind directing them, the swarm warriors were just dangerous animals. The Marines hunted them down systematically, clearing city after city. By the time the sun rose over Prime, the battle was over. The swarm was dead. They were saved, and the humans stood victorious, tired and bloody but alive. Doctor looked at Sergeant Amy, who was bandaging a wound on her arm while still keeping watch for threats. "I don't understand you," the scientist said. "Your species is so violent, so dangerous, yet you came all this way to save us. Why?" Amy looked at the children playing nearby, finally safe after days of terror. "Because someone had to," she said, "and we're glad it was us." The news traveled faster than light itself. Within hours of the battle's end, every species in the galaxy knew what had happened. The humans, those mysterious newcomers from the called Earth, had defeated the swarm. They had done what the Council couldn't do and saved an entire species from extinction. But not everyone was celebrating. On the Council, a massive space station called Unity Prime, the ambassadors gathered for an emergency session. The chamber was filled with hundreds of different species, each one representing there. The air buzzed with translated conversations in dozens of languages. Ambassador Ara stood at the center podium, his water-filled suit reflecting the chamber's lights. "We are here to discuss the unauthorized human military action at Prime. While the outcome was positive, the precedent is concerning. Human warships entering Council space without permission cannot be allowed." Many ambassadors agreed, their various forms of communication showing concern, but others disagreed. Ambassador of the stood up. He was small and delicate, his insect-like body trembling with emotion. "My people were dying. We called for help and the Council told us to wait 2 weeks. 2 weeks. By then we would all be dead. The humans came in 3 days. They didn't ask for payment. They didn't demand territory. They came because we needed help. And now you want to punish them for that." The chamber erupted in debate. Some species feared humanity's military power. Others were grateful for their intervention. The argument went on for hours. Jake stood in the visitors' gallery, watching the debate with Maya Collins beside him. "They're going to talk this to death," he muttered. "Maybe," Maya said, "but look at the younger ambassadors, the ones from smaller species, they're on our side." She was right. The ambassadors from species like who had no military and lived in fear of aggressive neighbors, were arguing for humanity. They saw Earth not as a threat but as a protector. Finally, the Council's High Speaker called for order. "Commander Jake of Earth, please come forward." Jake straightened his uniform and walked down to the main floor. Hundreds of alien eyes watched him. He felt small and very human in that moment. "Commander," the High Speaker said, "you initiated the chain of events that led to human military forces entering Council space. Explain your actions." Jake took a deep breath. "I received a distress call from Prime. Millions of innocent beings were being slaughtered. The Council's response time was too slow to save them, so I contacted Earth Fleet and asked for help. I knew it might cost me my career, but I couldn't stand by and do nothing." "You violated protocol," Ara said. "You could have caused a diplomatic crisis." "With respect, Ambassador," Jake replied, "there was already a crisis. They were dying. Protocols and politics don't matter much when you're being eaten alive by the swarm." "But who gave humans the right to decide when to intervene?" another ambassador asked. "Today you help tomorrow you might invade someone else, claiming it's for their own good." Jake shook his head. "That's not who we are. We don't invade, we don't conquer, but we also don't stand by when innocent people are dying, especially when we can help." The debate continued. Then Doctor entered the chamber. The scientist had traveled all the way from Prime to testify. "May I speak?" asked. The High Speaker nodded. "You may." "I was there," said their translator, making their clicking sounds into words. "I was in the shelter when the swarm broke through. I thought we were dead. Then the humans came. They fought through impossible odds to reach us. I saw one of their Marines, Sergeant, take a swarm claw to her shoulder to protect one of our children. She didn't even cry out. She just kept fighting." The scientist's voice grew stronger. "I've studied human biology. They shouldn't be able to do what they did. Their world's gravity is crushing. Their atmosphere is poison to most of us. Their bodies can survive injuries that would kill any of us instantly. They are by definition but they used all that strength, all that terrifying power to save us. They didn't have to. We gave them nothing. We're not even trade partners. They came because we asked for help." Looked directly at Ara. "You want to punish them for breaking your rules. My people want to thank them for breaking your rules, because your rules would have killed us all." The chamber was silent. Then slowly, some of the ambassadors began to show their species signs of approval. Not all of them, but enough. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the swarm's hive mind was processing what had happened. The swarm had existed for thousands of years, consuming planet after planet. They had never encountered serious resistance. Species either ran or died. That was how it had always been. But the humans hadn't run. They had fought back with weapons and tactics the swarm had never seen. They had killed a hive ship, something that had never happened before. The swarm analyzed the data and made a decision. The humans were a threat. They needed to be eliminated. Swarm scouts began probing human space, testing Earth's defenses. They found human colonies on the edges of explored space. Small settlements with a few thousand people. Easy targets, the swarm thought. They were wrong. Back on Earth, Admiral Ben Carter received the first reports. Swarm vessels detected near Colony World Alpha 7. They're testing our defenses. "How many ships do we have in that sector?" Carter asked. 3 patrol ships. The colony only has basic defenses." Carter's jaw tightened. "Mobilize the 3rd Fleet. I want them at Alpha 7 in 2 days, and send a message to all human colonies. The swarm is coming. Everyone needs to be ready." On Prime, Captain Laura Hayes met with her senior officers. The fleet was preparing to return to Earth, but first they needed to make sure they were secure. "They have asked us to stay," Nick Palmer reported. "They're afraid the swarm will come back." "We can't stay forever," Laura said. "We have our own worlds to protect, but we can help them build defenses. Sarah, work with their engineers. Show them how to set up warning systems and defensive weapons. They won't use weapons, Captain, Sarah reminded her. They are pacifists. Then they need to learn that sometimes peace requires the ability to defend yourself, Laura said firmly. We can't be everywhere at once. They need to be able to protect themselves. Colonel Foster faced a different challenge. 63 Marines had died in the battle for Prime. Now he had to write letters to their families. Each letter was personal, talking about how that specific Marine had died heroically, saving lives. It was the hardest part of command, harder than any battle. These people had trusted him to lead them, and he had sent them into danger. Some of them hadn't come home. One evening, Doctor found sitting alone, looking at a list of names. Are those your fallen warriors? Yeah, said quietly. 63 of them. 63 people who won't see their families again. They saved 4 million of my people, said gently. We are naming our next generation after them, the children of Terra, so that we never forget what humanity did for us. Looked up surprised. You're naming your children after us. Not after you specifically, clarified. After Terra, your world. And yes, we're teaching our young ones about the humans who came when no one else would. Your 63 will be remembered forever. Felt tears in his eyes. Thank you, that means more than you know. 6 months would pass before the full impact of humanity's actions became clear. But even now, things were changing. Smaller species started seeking Earth's protection. Some of the larger, more aggressive species started treating humans with wary respect. The galaxy had seen what happened when humanity decided to fight. Now everyone was wondering the same thing. Were humans friends or enemies? Would they protect the weak or conquer them? Back on station, Jake received a message from Earth. He had been promoted to ambassador and given a new mission: establish Earth's first embassy on Unity Prime, the Council. Congratulations, Ambassador, Maya said, smiling. Thanks, Jake said. But this is just the beginning. We showed the galaxy we can fight. Now we need to show them we can be trusted. And if they don't trust us, Maya asked. Jake looked out at the stars. Then we keep doing what we did we keep helping. Eventually they'll understand. We're not here to conquer. We're here to protect those who can't protect themselves. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to show them what it meant to be with a conscience. 6 months had changed everything. The galaxy that once barely noticed humanity now watched Earth's every move. Ambassador Jake stood on the observation deck of Unity Prime, watching ships from 100 different worlds come and go. His new embassy was still being built, but he was already working. Maya Collins walked up beside him, carrying a tablet full of reports. You need to see this. 3 more species have requested formal protection agreements with Earth. That brings the total to 17. 17 species want us to protect them. Jake shook his head in amazement. 6 months ago, they barely knew we existed. They know now, Maya said. After Prime, every weak species in the galaxy realized they have an option. They don't have to just hope the Council responds in time. They can ask the humans. And the Council isn't happy about it, Jake observed. No, they're not. Ambassador Ara sent another formal complaint this morning. He says we're undermining the Council's authority. Jake sighed. Set up a meeting with him. We need to make him understand we're not trying to replace the Council. We're just trying to help. That meeting would have to wait, because at that moment, alarms started blaring across Unity Prime. Jake's communicator buzzed urgently. Ambassador, this is Earth Fleet Command. We have a situation. What kind of situation? The swarm is attacking 3 of our colonies simultaneously. New Texas, Havens Reach, and Prosperity Station. It's a coordinated assault. They're hitting us with everything they've got. Jake felt his blood run cold. How bad? Bad. Each colony has limited defenses. We're mobilizing every available ship, but it'll take time. New Texas is the most vulnerable. They have civilian populations in the thousands. What can I do from here? Nothing, Ambassador. Just thought you should know. If we lose those colonies, humanity's position in the galaxy gets a lot weaker. Jake looked at Maya. Get me Captain Hayes, and find out which council species have ships in those sectors. On Earth, Admiral Ben Carter was coordinating the defense from Luna Base. The holographic display showed 3 battle zones, each one desperate. Status on Third Fleet, he demanded. Still 2 hours out from New Texas, Admiral. The colony's shields are holding, but they won't last much longer. What about the civilians? They're evacuating to underground shelters, but if the swarm breaks through before we arrive. Ben didn't need them to finish that sentence. He'd seen what the swarm did to undefended populations. He pulled up the communication channel to New Texas. This is Admiral Carter to New Texas Colony. Hang on, help is coming. The response came from General Foster, after Prime had been promoted and given command of the colony's defense. Copy that, Admiral. We're not going anywhere. The swarm wants this colony. They'll have to take it from us. On New Texas, stood in the command center, watching the swarm fleet approach. The colony was small, only 5,000 people, but it was home, and he'd be damned if he'd let the swarm take it. All defensive batteries fire at will, he ordered. Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the deep shelters. Combat teams get ready. If they land, we fight them street by street. Major Kelly Price coordinated the civilian evacuation. General, we have a problem. The primary shelter is at capacity. We've got 300 people with nowhere to go. Use the old mining tunnels, said. They're not comfortable, but they're deep and they're safe. The swarm ships entered orbit and began their bombardment. Energy blasts hammered the colony's shields. Watched the shield strength dropping. Shields at 60%, 50%, 40%. Come on, muttered. Just hold a little longer. At Haven's Reach, Commander Lisa Grant was facing similar problems. The former sniper from Alaska now commanded the colony's defense force. She had 200 soldiers and a civilian population of 8,000. Ma'am, swarm landing craft are incoming. 50 contacts, headed for the agricultural sector. That's where all our food is grown, Lisa said. If they destroy that, we'll starve even if we win. Second and third companies move to intercept, hold them at the river, use the natural. On Prosperity Station, a space station orbiting a gas giant, Station Commander Brooks faced a different challenge. The former combat engineer had only the station's defensive guns and 1 small patrol ship. We can't evacuate, told his officers. There's nowhere to go. The nearest help is 3 hours away, so we hold. We make every shot count and we make the swarm pay for every meter they take. Back at Unity Prime, Jake was making calls. He contacted every friendly ambassador he could reach. I need help, he told Ambassador of the swarm is attacking our colonies. Do you have any ships in those sectors? We have 3 research vessels near Haven's Reach, said. But Ambassador, we're not warriors. We don't have weapons. You have sensors, Jake said. Better sensors than ours. If you can give my fleet accurate targeting data, you'll save lives. There was a pause, then said, send us the coordinates. We'll help however we can. Similar conversations happened across the galaxy. The species humanity had protected were now finding ways to help in return. They sent their advanced sensors. Another species provided medical supplies. A third offered refuge for evacuees. Even some of the Council's military species offered assistance, not because the Council told them to, but because they chose to help. At New Texas, the shields finally failed. Swarm landing craft began descending through the atmosphere. Here they come, said. All units weapons free. Show them what happens when they attack a human colony. The battle was fierce. Swarm warriors poured out of their ships, charging the human defenses with mindless fury. But the humans were ready. They'd studied the Prime battle recordings. They knew the swarm's tactics. Sergeant Amy, who had been on Prime, led a defensive team at the western wall. Steady, wait for my signal, wait. Now fire. Concentrated fire tore through the swarm ranks. When they got too close, Amy's team fell back to the second line while another team covered them. It was textbook defense, and it worked. At Haven's Reach, Lisa Grant's soldiers held the river crossing. The swarm tried to force their way across, but human marksmen picked them off with deadly accuracy. "They're adapting," one of her officers reported. "They're trying to flank us through the forest." "Expected," Lisa said calmly. She'd placed mines throughout that forest. "Let them come, they'll learn." The explosions in the forest confirmed her trap had worked. On Prosperity Station, Brooks was running out of ammunition. The station's guns had been firing non-stop for an hour. "We're down to 20% munitions," his tactical officer reported. "Then make every shot count," said. "Aim for their engines. Disable them, don't waste shots trying to destroy them completely." Then something unexpected happened. 3 research ships appeared on the station's sensors. "Prosperity Station, this is Vessel Scholar's dream. We're transmitting targeting data to you now. These sensors can track the swarm's weak points." With the sensor data, gunners suddenly became terrifyingly accurate. Every shot hit critical systems. The swarm ships began falling out of formation, crippled. "It's working," the tactical officer shouted. "We're actually holding them." At New Texas, the Third Fleet finally arrived. Captain Laura Hayes led the charge personally, her ships dropping out of faster-than-light right in the middle of the swarm fleet. "All ships engage, let's end this." The battle turned immediately. The swarm had been winning, slowly grinding down the colony's defenses. But now they were caught between the colony's guns and the human fleet. It was a massacre. On the ground, Foster watched the sky light up with explosions. "That's our fleet. All units push forward, drive them back to their ships." The human ground forces, tired and bloodied but unbroken, launched a counterattack. The swarm, already confused by the fleet's arrival, broke and ran. It was the first time anyone had ever seen the swarm retreat. Similar scenes played out at Haven's Reach and Prosperity Station. The combined forces of human military might and their alien allies' support turned the tide. The swarm, used to fighting weak prey, couldn't adapt to fighting coordinated, determined resistance. By the time the sun rose on New Texas, the battle was over. The colony was damaged but intact. The civilians were safe, and the swarm had learned another hard lesson about fighting humans. Foster met with Laura Hayes at the colony's command center. "Thanks for the rescue, Captain." "You held them off until we got here," Laura said. "That's all that matters. How are your people?" "Tired, scared, but alive. We lost 30 soldiers, but we saved 5,000 civilians. I'll take that trade." Laura nodded. "The swarm is going to think twice before attacking our colonies again. We've shown them it's too expensive." Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. Humanity had been tested and they had passed. 3 simultaneous attacks and they had won all 3 battles. More importantly, they had won with help from other species. Jake stood before the Galactic Council making his report. "The swarm attacked 3 human colonies. We defended them successfully, with help from our friends in the galaxy. The provided sensor data. The sent medical supplies. Even some of the Council's military forces offered assistance." "This proves my point," Ambassador Ara said. "You're militarizing the galaxy. Species are choosing sides, building alliances based on military power." "No," Jake said firmly. "They're building friendships based on mutual protection. We're not asking anyone to choose sides. We're just saying that if someone attacks you, we'll help. And if someone attacks us, we hope you'll help too. That's not militarization. That's civilization." The High Speaker stood up. The Council has debated this matter for 6 months. It's time to vote. Should Earth be granted a permanent seat on the Galactic Council? The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity was now a full member of the Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that came with it. Later that evening, Jake found himself in a quiet corner of Unity Prime with Captain Laura Hayes, who had come for a formal ceremony honoring the fleet. "We did it," Jake said. "We're officially part of the galactic community." "Yeah," Laura said, "but you know what this means. Every time someone gets attacked, they're going to look at us and wonder if we'll help." "And we will," Jake said. "When we can, that's who we are." Laura smiled. "I know, and honestly, I'm proud of that. 6 months ago, we were just the weird new species from the... Now we're the ones people call when they need help." "The who came when no one else would," Jake quoted. "I heard someone call us that." "I like it," Laura said. "It's true. We came from a harsh world and it made us strong, but it also taught us to help each other survive. Now we're bringing that lesson to the galaxy." A month later, Earth launched a new initiative, a joint human-alien rapid response fleet commanded by Captain Laura Hayes. The crew was diverse. Human Marines worked alongside navigators. Engineers maintained systems next to human technicians. The fleet's flagship was named the Hope because that's what it represented. Hope that when the next distress call came, someone would answer. Hope that the strong would protect the weak. Hope that the galaxy could be a better place. On the bridge of the Hope, Laura Hayes looked at her diverse crew and felt pride. They had come from dozens of different worlds, but they shared one goal: to help those who couldn't help themselves. Commander Nick Palmer, her first officer, approached. "Captain, we just received a distress call from the Theta sector. Pirates are attacking a civilian transport." Laura didn't hesitate. "Set course and engage. Let's show them why it's a bad idea to prey on the innocent in our galaxy." As the Hope turned toward its first mission, Jake watched from Unity Prime. Maya Collins stood beside him. "Think this will work?" Maya asked. "This whole humanity as galactic protectors thing." Jake smiled. 6 months ago, we answered a desperate cry for help. We saved millions of lives. We made friends. We showed the galaxy that someone cares. Yeah, I think it'll work. Not because we're perfect, but because we're trying, and sometimes that's enough." Across the stars, on dozens of worlds, beings looked up at the night sky and felt a little safer. Because somewhere out there, the humans were watching. From that harsh blue planet had heard their cry and answered it, and they would answer again whenever someone called for help. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were dangerous, yes. They came from a that had forged them into warriors, but they were also kind. They were also compassionate, and they would fight to protect those who couldn't fight for themselves. That desperate cry that had summoned the fleet had changed everything, and the galaxy would never be the same again.